Tommy Morrison and his passing. He left us much too early at the age of 44, and I hope that everybody can remember that Tommy was one of the brightest stars in boxing, a movie star at 21, and a heavyweight contender and WBO champion at the ages of 22, 23, 24, 25. A young fighter that I hope we all remember those 48 victories and 42 KOs, and not just the 3 defeats and the tragedy of his life. So, if I may continue, the heavyweight division is the big boys, and a lot of people like to say that heavyweights control the popularity of the sport. But in the sport of boxing, especially over the last 60, 65 years, what has come to be recognized as 1B after 1A being the heavyweights is the middleweight division. The average Joe can recognize that when you see a fighter that weighs 160 pounds, 5'9" to 6 feet tall, they think, hey, that could be me. You know, that's just a regular guy. But they have the power of a big boy, they've got the speed and the ability of the smaller fighters. You know, and from Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard being recognized as the classy, good-looking guys, we've got the maulers and brawlers like Hagler and Vasilio and Gene Fulmer, and it's just always been a classic weight division that the average fan can relate to. And I think that's what makes it today's true glamour division. And we're going to have 2 of the best in the ring on November 2nd at Madison Square Garden in a great fight. And Madison Square Garden, of course, always historically recognized as the mecca of boxing. So at this time, I would like the Vice President, Executive Vice President of Madison Square Garden to say a few words about this event, Mr. Joel Fisher.
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming. I think this gathering here today is just a small indication of what this night is going to be like. Every fighter strives to fight for a championship at the mecca of boxing, Madison Square Garden. All the legends of this sport have fought at the Garden and have had their hands raised in the center of our legendary ring. I don't know whose hand will be raised on November 2nd, but I do know that these 2 great fighters will certainly add to the legendary tradition of great fighting and boxing in Madison Square Garden. This is definitely going to be an explosive night, and we are, needless to say, we're thrilled to be hosting it. Let me just say the tickets are on sale now. We've had a pre-sale, and if that's any indication, it was the largest pre-sale we've had for any boxing. I think they're going to go fast. They're available at our Garden box office and Ticketmaster outlets. I really want to thank both Tom, our great partners, K2, Tom, and Bernie in Main Events, with Kathy for getting this fight done, for putting it together. This is a fight that boxing fans really wanted to see, and these guys worked together to make it happen, and I really think they deserve a hell of a lot of credit. You know, I remember 2 years ago, I think, you came to my office with Gennady and said, I've got this fighter here who's going to be really good and wants to make the Garden his home. And I looked at him, he didn't look that big, and I didn't know who he was at the time. I said, we're game, we want to do more boxing, and we're all for it. You guys remember that? And sure enough, to your word, he's as great as you said he would be. And more than that, he's lived up to the commitment of wanting to make the Garden his home. So we truly, truly appreciate that. At the same time, Curtis is no stranger to the Garden as well. He's been there recently. We welcome his return, and we know that he'll bring a large rooting section from all over the city, not only Brooklyn, to the Garden. It's great to have HBO back with Peter and Mark and Ken. We're thrilled that you guys will be here, and I'm sure it'll be a great tradition. And I know Melvina's not here today, but I'm sure that the commission will ensure that it's a safe night for everybody. And like I said earlier, we couldn't be more thrilled to be hosting this fight. It will be a great night of boxing, and I suggest everybody get their tickets and get them soon, because this is going to be a seller. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Joel. Now, of course, a big element in a big night of boxing naturally is Madison Square Garden to go along with two great headliners. And another big element to make it a big fight night, of course, is when it's broadcast on HBO. So here to speak for HBO, please welcome the Director of Programming, HBO Sports, Mr. Peter Nelson.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. It's great to see such a good press turnout. I want to thank, to start, Tom Loeffler of K2 and Kathy Dua, Main Events, getting this fight done. It's a pleasure working with both of you to make sure that this fight got made. Obviously, with two burgeoning lights in the middleweight division, and Curtis Stevens and Gennady Golovkin, it's a thrill to be able to broadcast the fight and to have it at an historic venue like Madison Square Garden Theater only enhances the event. For us, as Michael was noting, the middleweight division is a glamour division, just like the heavyweight division, and it's one of those divisions that captures the imagination of people. Everyone knows what you're talking about when you say the word middleweight. And it's also recently, and I'm not a boxing historian like some people in the crowd, but it's a division of late bloomers. It's a division of men who come to the sport sometimes later on in the game. We've seen it recently with Sergio Martinez. You saw it as far back as Joey Giardelli. So you can see an illustrious history in the sport for the late bloomer. Gennady is he's in his, 30 now? 31. He's 31 years old. Curtis, 28. All right. So these aren't men who are fresh out of the Olympics. These are men who are far along in their careers professionally. And that translates to a very high quality of skill. You know, there was at one point where I said to a, who I believe will be a future Hall of Famer in boxing, a woman standing to my left here, Jolene, and I was trying to make a fight at 168 with Curtis, and she said, "You don't understand. The secret to Curtis is 160 pounds." And we've been able to see that over the past 4 fights. He's had 3 first-round knockouts, is that right? And Gennady, the same thing we've seen. It's years ago, I had a conversation with a boxing trainer who talked of some sort of mythical creature in the steppes of Kazakhstan who would knock out every fighter that he ever saw. And in America, there was no presence for this fighter. He was talked about like a Loch Ness or a sort of a chimera. And his name was Gennady Golovkin. And this trainer told me that he used to tell his fighters as a kind of medieval bedtime story that you better do as I say, otherwise I'm going to tell your promoter that I'm going to make the Golovkin fight. Whether or not Gennady has delivered to those expectations or not, I think remains to be seen. I think I've seen interviews where Curtis has mentioned that Gennady has fought some fighters who are coming up from 154, and that part of the challenge that he wanted to see was that a real 160, someone who really could campaign at 168 pounds like Curtis Stevens, could really present a credible threat. And that's the magic of this fight for us. That we see in this fight 2 fighters with knockout power who both have a credible present danger at any given moment in the fight to end the fight. And for us, it's one of the highlights of a long slate of fights that we're beginning on September 28th with Chavez Vera, Stevenson Cloud, Hay Fury. That'll be followed by the Cotto Rodriguez fight with the Klitschko fight, which is also K2 that we'll be working with, and followed by Bradley Marquez all the way through Pacquiao Rios. It's an incredible slate of fights, and this fight to us really represents one of the highlights. We figured that Manhattan, MSG, it's perfect because it's neutral territory being somewhere in between Kazakhstan and Brooklyn. So we couldn't be more thrilled that this fight got made. It's going to be an incredible show top to bottom. Tom has disclosed to me some of the fights that he plans to do on the undercard, and I'm excited to get to the venue nice and early. But for those of you who will be there present, remember to set your DVRs. The start time is 10 p.m. Look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. At this time, I'd like to introduce the gentleman that's done his best to bring Gennady Golovkin into the light of day in the middleweight division, and surely can be recognized as being very responsible for his fan base that's growing at these times. And that's his promoter, the managing director of K2 Promotions, Mr. Tom Loeffler.
Thank you, Michael. We're excited to be back here in New York. Couldn't really find a better setting than here at the Refinery Hotel, so we want to thank them and their staff for everything. Not too many press conferences with sunlights and a view of the Empire State Building in the background, so we're excited to be here. We're especially excited to be coming back to Madison Square Garden. We did make a commitment, as Joel said, we made a commitment that Gennady wants to fight here in New York, the mecca of boxing, the media capital of the world, and that's what we're doing. He's going to come back here, fight the second time this year. Madison Square Garden, the first fight that will happen at the Garden since the transformation will be complete. Curtis Stevens, we want to give him a lot of credit. Curtis is actually one of the few fighters that called out Gennady, and most people shy away from him. We've got a lot of problems making fights for Gennady, but Curtis actually called him out before his last fight, before his impressive KO over Saul Durant. And it was never a matter of putting this fight together. It was never a matter of either fighter wanting to fight each other. It was just a matter of making all the details work. And so I want to give Peter Nelson and everyone at HBO, Mark Taffet, a lot of credit. Without their help, this fight wouldn't have gotten done. So they realized the significance of this fight, especially here in the New York area. Curtis is coming in with a lot of momentum, and they were instrumental in making this fight happen. Gennady is really the breakout star of 2013. Actually, Joel, when I brought him in your office, I said he was already a great fighter. It just was a matter of proving it to everyone. He hadn't had the exposure over here, but since we got involved with him, that was one of our commitments to him because he wanted to fight here in the States.
And I want to start out by just reiterating what everyone's heard. The Madison Square Garden is the greatest place to be. Joel, Adam, it's wonderful to be working with Sal. It's wonderful to be working with you guys again, and we're looking forward to being able to sit back and enjoy the fight and enjoy our surroundings as always. I won't get sick this time. I won't have to work so hard this time. It's okay. And of course, the only place we want to be is on HBO. So it was wonderful to be there, to truly have arrived. It's been a long time, and I feel like our main events are starting to get back to the glory days when we used to be on HBO all the time. I hope it continues, and I want to thank everyone at HBO, particularly Peter Nelson, for his patience and his efforts in getting this done. I think it's going to be good fun. It was worth the effort. And I also, of course, want to thank Tom and all the people at K2. We worked together before. We put on some pretty spectacular events before. I think we're going to do it again. Talking about Curtis, and by the way, I presumed to ask to introduce Curtis, and you might wonder why I would presume to do that when the greatest announcer in the world is standing to my right, because he's way better at it. But there is a purpose, and I hope you'll be all right with me. Curtis has come so far. He's changed so much. And I think we can all see that he's finally living up to the potential that everyone saw in him when he was an amateur and starting out his pro career. Sometimes someone has to just find the right team, the right surroundings, the right circumstances, and you take that true diamond in the rough and turn it into a beautiful sparkling gem. And I think that's what's happened here with this team, and I give all credit to Andre Rozier and to Jolene Mazzone, who was his surrogate mother, without whom I don't think Curtis would be possible. Apologies to Curtis's own mother, who's a lovely lady. I'm delighted to see that you thought of her today with a beautiful bouquet. She totally deserves it. And that's wonderful that you know it. He and Gennady took very different paths to end up in the same ring on November 2nd. And both involving strong teams, and that's a testament to the team that he has as well with K2 and Abel Sanchez, who's of course a fine trainer. But I got to tell you, leading up to this event, and thank you for complimenting us for making it, but frankly, it's the fight we wanted too. We just wanted more money. So, it worked out. Anyway, but to read the websites. Although Curtis may dispute this, one would have to believe that Gennady Golovkin is faster than a speeding bullet, No doubt he is more powerful than a locomotive. And I'm willing to bet if he tried, he could leap a tall building with a single bound. So it kind of sounds to me like Curtis is fighting Superman. And that's something that would give anyone pause, except that, that as everyone knows, Superman does have a weakness, and it's up to Curtis to find it, and that's going to be his mission on November 2nd, is to find Gennady's weakness. Which leads me to my next topic. One area, while Curtis has begun to stand out in almost every way, there is one area in which he continues to struggle, and I think we all know what it is. It's his nicknames. He started out years ago as Boss Blow. Then we moved on to the nickname that shall not be spoken in this promotion. And this leaves me with a problem, because I'm here trying to promote my fighter, trying to promote this event. And you know, you need that catchy nickname. I think it's really important for a fighter to have to set him apart. And, so we thought about this a lot, and I got to tell you, there's absolutely no truth to the rumor that he has decided to change his name to Boss HBO. But everything is on the table, and it could be arranged here. We can talk about that later. I tried to figure out, we kept trying to figure out what to do about this, and then it finally hit me. Superman does have a weakness, and everybody knows what it is. And I know that Curtis has kryptonite in both of his hands. And so for now, at least for this promotion, until he officially becomes Boss HBO, it is my extreme pleasure to present the next middleweight champion of the world, Curtis Kryptonite Stevens.
How you doing, everyone, today? Like to say, first of all, all glory be to God. I'd like to thank Peter for bringing me to the HBO fight too. K2 blowing it, and my lovely lady sitting to my right, Kathy, for doing this. I'd like to thank my Uncle Andre and Gary Stark too for getting to this point that we're here today. You know, I had a long road and path. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. But I'm here now before you like a new changed man, ready to take over the middleweight division. Gennady is an excellent champion. Takes nothing away from him. Like, he has power, I believe, and he's been doing what he had to do to his opponents and taking them out. But I believe come November 2nd, he's going to see something that he's never seen before in front of his eyes. Like, you know, I have tremendous power. And I'm coming to fight. I'm not scared, and I'm gonna be the new WBA world champ come November 2nd. And just like to tell him, it's gonna be game time. I'm coming to the middle of the ring. Avery said he hopes I meet him there. I'm gonna yell at 5. I just hope he meets me in the middle of the trademark when little Mike be standing there sometime. So I'll let you know, November 2nd is game time. Ain't no same time, no playing time. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Kathy, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering how I was going to do that. I probably couldn't. Curtis Stevens. That's no problem. We'll be able to. We'll do it, Curtis. No problem. Okay. Well, you've met the challenger. Now let's meet the champion. He's a genuine hero in his home country of Kazakhstan, having captured Olympic gold. And also, as an amateur, he was one of the supreme fighters in the history of amateur boxing, an unbelievable record. And since turning professional, always fought at 160 pounds in the middleweight division. His record, like Curtis has 16 of his 18 KOs are in 3 rounds or less. Gennady, 16 of his 24 KOs are in 4 rounds or less. Like I mentioned about Madison Square Garden, he's definitely an usher and security and everything. It's a nightmare because there will be no overtime. People are going to have to get into their seats, and they're going to have to stay there. And it's the type of fight that we anticipate shouldn't go the distance. Anything can happen, but there's going to be a lot of fireworks. So this time, let me introduce to you the reigning and defending champion. His knockout ratio is the highest in the history of middleweight world champions at 89%. 27-0, 24 knockouts, the reigning and defending WBA middleweight champion of the world, Gennady Triple G Golovkin.
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy we will be here in New York City. I remember long, traditional, big history for box in New York City. It's special for HBO team. Thank you to the Nelson. Thank you very much for Madison Square Garden family. Thank you, Joe Fisher. I'm happy. This is my dream. I think great fight. Like you remember history, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, of course. I think same chance for us. For everybody, for TV, for fans, for box. This is very important for everybody. Thank you. November 2nd, Madison Square Garden. Welcome, please, guys. Thank you.
We've got this microphone here, and I think it's just not here for looks. Let's bring it down. In a few minutes, we'll have photos and some one-on-ones, correct? Can you lower that just a little? All right, these RCAs are the best. So let me just wrap this up. Next will be photo ops with the two fighters. They're going to come around to the front here for the press. So I just want to remind everybody that on November 2nd, live from Madison Square Garden, live on HBO, it's the WBA Middleweight Championship of the World. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Guys, this way.
All right. Back to the center, please. Center.
All right. Put you down a little bit first. No. Yeah.
Back to back, please.
Very good, guys.
In the news.
Right here.
Champion of the world. Yeah. Say it loud. Say in the news. What's wrong with your mouth? I don't want to be.
You don't want to get thrown out?
Nah.
So you want me to get thrown out?
Nah, they won't throw you out.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all look at the new WB champion of the world.
No, hold on 1 second.
Curtis. Showtime.
No, hold on. A little bit, take a half step close to each other, guys. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get ready to
In
jump.
the news.
Okay, guys, please.